Have they?
It's like saying, hey, you got a new hitter going.
Okay.
They're not here. It's not my meeting. My meeting's good. Yours.
Okay.
I'd like to call the regularly scheduled Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, May 6, 2019 to order. First order of business is Pledge of Allegiance. Charlie, please lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Charlie. Item 2, public forum. Anyone wishing to address the board in public forum? Hearing none, let's move on to item 3, and that's to approve the minutes. 3.1 would be the April 15th, 2019 minutes. Is there anything there? Anyone wants to add, change, comment on, et cetera?
Move their approval.
Second?
Second. We'll call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recused?
I will abstain, I was
Okay.
absent.
Thank you very much. Motion carries. We're on to item 4. Jeff, Police Chief, Jeff Hutchison.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you today?
Excellent. Happy Monday.
Happy Monday as well. A couple of items, right?
Yeah, I believe the first one is, let's see.
4.1.
Yep, okay. First one, what we're looking to do is purchase 2 in-car dash cams. These are the same dash cams we have in the cars right now. We have a federal grant available. It's a pass-through grant. It goes into the state as a justice assistance grant, JAG grant, and then pass through to the towns. We have $10,000. The 2 cameras will cost $10,340. So $10,000 will come from grant money. $5,000 of which they give us up front. $5,000 we're going to get later on. After we purchase, $340 will come out of our capital account to pay for the rest of it. It's a grant that's already been approved through through OPM, who's administering it, and just wanted to get procedurally your approval for the purchase.
That's great. Jeff, you mentioned that this is replacing 2 existing cameras. What's the shelf life? What's the
5 years.
5 years?
Yeah, so there's 2 cameras that are coming off this year of
Okay.
warranty.
Yep.
It's at that point that they're not serviceable.
Gotcha.
And so we're going to replace them probably a couple months early, but the good thing about these new cameras is, as you know, technology changes a little bit
Sure does.
from day to day.
Obsolete when it
So
comes
the
out the
newer
door.
cameras will integrate with the next item on my agenda. Yeah.
So just so people really understand, it's probably not so much that the camera physically itself wears out, but it's the software supporting it. I mean, is that the thing?
It's both,
both.
actually,
both?
yes, because there's a lot of components to those cameras, in
Oh.
addition to the hardware that's in the car, all the wiring that runs through, the microphones that are attached to them that the officers wear. The software within the hard drives,
Yeah.
that's usually what we have, is a hard drive failure within the car cameras.
Okay.
Are these cameras, you said they're gonna be coordinated with the officers. Can they be turned on and off, or are they just on all the time?
Well, the way they work is, it's kind of a long, complicated answer to a short question, but they're constantly running. However, they only initiate an event. It's called an event, and it starts a recording when the lights are turned on and when an officer automatically or individually initiates it. If something happens that they didn't have a chance to flick the cameras on, it goes back about 56 hours, so we can go back and grab it. So if we're on patrol and car number 2 is out there and it records 56 hours of events, usually what happens is if something happens and the officer didn't have a chance to turn it on, we'll find out soon enough that we can go back, grab that recording, and preserve it. But otherwise, it just continues and
So if,
overwrites at some point.
So if one of the cars was involved in an emergency accident or something like that, you can go back and capture it?
Correct, correct.
Okay.
Again, unless it's several days later and it's overwritten at that point. So.
And have you found these to be helpful for you in terms of just sort of managing what's happening out there, sort of as a training tool? I mean, what's the basic
It's
purpose?
helpful on multiple levels. It's helpful from an investigative standpoint, where we can go back and look at something that the camera might have seen that the officer didn't pick up or may not have even been looking for at the time. It's helpful from a training tool, because we've had instances where we'll go back and say, hey, this is a good example of how something's supposed to happen, or this might be a bad example, and we might want to do some retraining on this. So bottle levels. And when, quite honestly, when someone, very infrequently, but we get them, someone might make a complaint about an officer on a car stop, and we'll immediately just go to the videotape and either confirm or not confirm what they're suggesting. We often let them look at it and say, listen, this is what the camera's showing, this is what you're telling us.
I think it's a useful
Yeah.
tool for the town.
Yeah, it really is.
We've had some discussions in the past about statewide retention policies. It looks as if the current policy is we're allowing them to be overwritten over 56 hours unless there's a reason determined by you and your staff
Right.
that we need to do something different.
Right, correct. So we actually exceed the statewide policy, so we're actually on a 3-year retention
Okay.
for any saved events.
Right.
And they require 90 days.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, as to 4.1, anything further?
I'll move it.
Need a second?
Make that second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, that carries. 4.2, follow-up.
4.2, we're finally, after years of research and policy development, both with us and through the state, at the point where we're ready to purchase body-worn cameras as well. So the difference is the car cameras are in-dash cameras, they're permanently mounted in the vehicles. They will see whatever the car is pointing at. And the cameras we're looking at now, I'm sure everybody's seen examples of this. They're body-worn cameras. They'll be worn on each individual officer when they're on patrol. And what we're looking to do is purchase, again, from WatchGuard Video. The reason we want to do this in a sole source approach is the integration between the two systems. So we'll eliminate the necessity for 2 different microphones on the officers. In addition, the cameras that you just approved in the cars have docking stations within those where the body cameras will charge and download that data into the hard drive in case the camera's damaged or the battery dies, that sort of stuff. What we're looking to do is buy 24 cameras. The way we have it set up, they're going to be charging stations. So not every officer that we employ is going to have their own camera, but there's going to be enough so that when someone's working, they're going to have a charge camera. They'll grab it, and it automatically assigns to that officer when they sign onto their cars and sign into the cameras. The funding for that, we had a very generous private anonymous donor a while back who donated $30,000 to fund part of this. In addition, we designated, don't have the number, $24,424.96 in a prior budget year that we've carried over to fund this. And in capital this year, we designated $17,500 for servers, and we'll be using $16,998 for that, for a total of $71,423. So my request is to purchase these cameras with the funding as described, and get our body-worn camera system online.
Motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Any further questions?
Yeah, just one, the server that we were originally planning on purchasing, is it okay to forego that or delay that? Or was that meant
That's
for
actually, it was
17.5?
designed for video storage, so
Okay,
it's
I
actually
see.
gonna be used for that,
Okay,
yeah. So we're not going
It's the
offline, and we're
same.
not gonna need another
Yep.
one, this actually is gonna
okay, got
be
it.
able to
Perfect.
store our car and body camera video.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned that the cameras that we just approved for the cars show forward. Most cars already have the rear view camera, can't be part of it or anything. I mean, I would think.
Well, they have
you
the
know,
forward, and then they show the
You're talking about like the backup camera that's built into a car?
Oh, it's
no, you
almost
can't-
standard
no, you
equipment.
can't integrate those, but it does show into the back where the cage is, where people are.
Oh,
you
okay.
know.
I was gonna say,
Yeah, you can't integrate
somebody
the cars.
approaching would almost be as important, but
Yeah,
we'll get there.
sounds like a investment on Shark Tank idea.
And it bears mentioning, you've explained it to us, but it bears mentioning for the audience, this is sole source purchase from WatchGuard, they're the only
Right.
provider.
Because it integrates with, again, with our vehicle cameras and allows us to share that dedicated storage system, that server, because that's proprietary. And within this, I forgot to mention, is a necessity, unfortunately, that's gonna take a lot of our time, and this'll save it, is redaction software within the system. Because if someone makes a a request for video, we don't have the necessary capabilities or the software to do all the redaction on the videos, and this will make it cleaner, quicker, and more effective to do that.
Great.
Anything further? Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you, sir.
Great.
Item 5, Board of Ed Director of Operations and Facilities, Cliff Gurnham, is going to address 5.1. Consider and take possible action to approve change order from Melissa Jones School Cooling Tower Pump Replacement.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you. So, this falls out of outside of the realm of the performance contract that we're doing with Johnson Controls.
Controls, right.
So, as part of that project, we have replaced the cooling tower itself and the heat exchanger inside and the associated piping between the two pieces of equipment.
Right.
This takes it a step further, and we're going to replace the piping from the cooling tower to the pumps and back out to the cooling tower. Presently, we have one pump, was installed back with the original cooling tower. It is well past its life cycle. There used to be two. One was older, or about the same generation, actually caught on fire about 3 years ago. So the one that we have down there is on its last leg. So we're trying to do this and incorporate it as part of the energy performance upgrades in a sense. Again, it should help with our energy performance. There'll be some energy savings, not a lot, but there should be some. Because we're doing the work, some work already through Johnson Controls, it makes sense to have them continue the piping to the two pumps. We are putting back two pumps so that we have redundancy. So if one pump goes down, we can still feed the cooling tower with the second pump. So that's all part of the project. So the proposal has been looked at and reviewed by both our consultant, ECG. It was reviewed by the Standing Building Committee as well. They have both moved it forward and recommended awarding the work to Johnson Controls as part of a change order for the energy performance contract. The cost of the project is $54,499. That incorporates the pumps, the piping, the programming, because they're VFDs, so they're variable speed drives, so there's some programming that goes on there. There's also programming that we have to do with Johnson Controls, because it goes on our control system so that we can control it remotely through the building control system. That is included in here as well. So it's a complete package. It'll be funded through a different source than the energy performance contract, because we didn't want to kind of open up that funding.
Okay.
So we went through, and I did meet with, or speak with Mary Jane. She went through bond counsel, so we did make arrangements for an open bond. So we have funding for this.
Okay. Go ahead, Lou.
Cliff, the subcontractor quote, which is the biggest piece of this, $42,000. McKinney, mechanical, looks like. There's some interesting exclusions from their quote, some of which seem almost certain to kick in. Like, for instance, the last one, sales tax. I mean, is any of this going to be?
We're taxed.
we're taxed.
So it's, okay. So then, what about a permit fee?
We don't have
waive
paper.
You waive
waive
it.
those.
Okay, okay, I guess I should have been on this. And then the last one that strikes me as the most uncertain, it's testing and removal of hazardous materials. I mean, when was the original?
Correct, so we
equipment
do
put
that
in?
ahead of time. So I've already walked through with our testing company and looked at everything. There's very little that should be a surprise there. Sometimes we'll get a gasket or something, but from the walkthrough, we don't believe there'll be any hazardous materials.
Okay, great, good.
Anything else? Just want to talk a little bit about the Johnson Controls. Our arrangement with Johnson is we had a loan, and we pay Johnson a fixed monthly amount. This is outside of that. This will be a one-time payment from those bond proceeds, correct? Thank you. I've got nothing further.
When you say we're exempt from the fees, we do go through the permitting process. though.
Correct,
Oh, yes.
absolutely. They will pull all low permits, correct. Yes.
That is standard on all municipal facilities. Right.
We just don't charge
We
ourselves.
don't
The
charge
money doesn't
ourselves.
make a circle through the,
Through the system, exactly.
okay.
So, anything
Seems
further?
obvious now.
Anything further? Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. You had another point you wanted to bring up.
Yes, and I apologize for doing this, it's a timing issue. So we just got back our bids for the Baldwin HVAC project, which is hopefully going to be scheduled to get done this summer. We got those back Thursday, we're reviewing them, the standing building committee will review them tomorrow night. We are looking to hopefully have a special meeting with the Board of Selectmen Wednesday or Thursday, depending on your schedules, to approve the recommendation by the standing building committee. Again, it's a timing issue, unfortunately, they're meeting your meeting, so because we are pressed for time, we need to get this turned around as quick as we can, so I appreciate it if you guys could find time, again, Wednesday, Thursday, hopefully no later than Thursday, to have a meeting with us. All right?
All right, Trace will try to find. Pam, just a quick question. Is there any chance that we could approve this contingent upon the standing building committee's recommendation, since that is the standard process?
Except you don't know.
I can't even give you a recommendation
Right.
that they're gonna go with the lowest bidder. If
Right.
I knew fairly certain
Right.
that they were going to award it to one of the two
Right.
vendors,
Well,
I would.
I'm not even suggesting we name the vendor, we're
Okay.
basically authorizing, as we normally do, we take the recommendation from standing building committee, that we would approve it contingent upon the standing building committee's selection of a contractor. Pam, you have a grimace on your face which suggests that you're
Yeah,
not comfortable with it,
Make me
so,
100% comfortable.
No.
let's tee that up for, potentially for, further opportunities.
Yep.
So Tracy will, poll us for our schedules.
You're good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
When is the standing building committee meeting?
Tomorrow night.
Tuesday night.
Tuesday
Oh,
night.
so it could
So
be
Wednesday,
Wednesday or-
Thursday, yeah.
Okay.
All right. Item 6, Park and Rec Director Rick Maynard to item 6.1, discuss and take possible action to waive the purchasing policy and approve contract for the annual fireworks display.
Morning.
Good morning, Rick, how are you?
Okay. It's nice to see the sun, isn't it?
Yes, that was-
That means you guys can start working on some fields
Yeah,
again.
we get some open. It's been crazy. So this will be our 20th year doing fireworks at the fairgrounds. We started in 2000, and so this is our 20th year doing it. And every year we've used Atlas Pyrotechnics out of New Hampshire. We've gotten quotes every year. Their prices are either always the best or they're the ones that best met the specs. For example, there was a more local company that had a lower price, but they were more backyard. I mean, they weren't commercial, you know. And so every year it's been Atlas. You know, I've talked to the fire chief and fire marshal. They're very happy with Atlas because of the quality. Their safety record is impeccable. State fire marshal's always been real happy with them. And we know it's always been a great show. And so I'm requesting that the Board of Selectmen allow us to waive the purchasing procedure and just hire Atlas. Again, every year they've been the company that's done it. They were talking about $15,000 would come out of the program account,
Right.
so it's not talent and tax money. Again, it just goes back to all those reasons. The price has either been the best or best met the specifications. Great show, and the fire department's been very happy with them, the safety record and everything else.
Any questions? I have no issue with this at all, particularly since the fire chief and fire marshal are comfortable with this company and have a long-standing working relationship with them.
We've
Safety.
got the not to exceed in there.
Yeah.
You're-
Yeah, we're good.
I'll move that.
And move, second.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, Rick. 6.2, any change
Yeah,
since
this one's
you and I
harder.
spoke on Friday?
It's harder, but I'll kind of bring you up to date, but I want to show you a couple things we're looking at. This is for the trash truck, and this is recycling. So we're looking at two separate units. We found out that a single unit that can handle trash and recycling together, we actually looked at one, and one of them didn't have the barrel tipper, where the guys still have to lift the barrels up about 4 feet high and dump them in.
Yep.
And that's what we don't want. That's how we had injuries when we used to do trash pickup years ago. And so we're looking at a separate trash truck and a separate recycle. This is a really neat, I don't know if you've seen around town, there's a little unit called the Gorilla. It's a guy that does trash pickup around town, and I followed him one day and I stopped saying, what is that thing? It looked just like that. It was like, it goes in the back of a pickup truck.
Right.
It can hold 6 yards, it's got the barrel tipper on it. It's relatively inexpensive, around $21,000. Not counting the truck, we have a truck we can put it on. It's just the unit, and then it dumps. And so our current thinking is to get that for the recycling. Again, it can hold up to 60 cubic yards, which is a pretty good amount. And then get a separate trash truck just for trash, which would be, this is my phone's dinging, because I'm just trying to get a quote now. Can I look again? Been waiting for one company to get back to me. Yeah, well, it's not a formal quote, but I'll give you that in a second. So I guess today I'd like to move forward with this. We have two companies we looked at. They both can be purchased on Sourcewell, which Pam, it's kind of like a state contract.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
So
But
what
we-
you're saying is this plus a trash truck?
Correct.
Correct.
This would be for recycling only, we have to separate them out. And the other advantage is this, because it's small, it can go in the back of a pickup or a dump truck, we can get into tighter spaces, smaller areas, we can get on the
How
fields.
many yards is a trash truck?
Trash truck, we're looking at an 8-yard one, but it's compacted. So I found that an 8-yard truck, you can get up to 150 barrels in there, you know.
Why not
compact.
just 2 of these? I mean, this is 6 yards.
Yeah, but it doesn't compact it. 6 yards, not compacted. That would hold maybe, I don't know, 10, 12 barrels, I don't know. A trash truck will hold a
Okay.
lot more.
Okay.
But that's the first thought I had, actually, but when I
Yeah.
found out it doesn't have a compactor, we'd be making 10 trips to the dump with this. And we
Well,
got
the biggest problem is
efficiency.
when the transfer station's open and not open,
Right.
that the timing would kill you.
Mhm. Right.
So this would be installed on a truck, it would be dedicated to that purpose, it wouldn't come off and on that
Right.
truck, right?
Yeah, and we have a truck that we can do that with.
So essentially.
Now, what happened?
No, go ahead.
What, if we take that truck offline
I
to
know.
do this,
So one of our things is we just got the new F-550, Friday. And for now, at least for a year or two, rather than trade in that dump truck, which isn't in terrible shape, we might be able to put this in the back of that. If not, we would just a dedicated pickup to it. I think we have a pickup in the budget for next year, another pickup, so we would just dedicate this for this year and make it work. I mean, it's at least a low expensive way to do it, and we think we can make it work. And the difference is this one has a barrel tipper. We're gonna go for, it's a barrel grabber. It actually kind of like hugs a barrel. So you can use it on round barrels, which we have a lot of. And we're gonna have to buy some of the more rectangular type with the wheels and lids on them anyway. But it can work with either type. It hugs the barrel and picks it up and it dumps it. So it'll look a little different from that. So the cost on that one from CN Wood, which is in North Haven, is $21,858. I just got. So the next one is the trash truck. If you don't mind, I'll just give the whole picture, Matt. You mind if I do that now?
Sure.
So the trash truck, the issue there is we do have one official quote from a company, Sanitary Equipment in West Haven. I was waiting to get one from CN Wood, which is right here in North Haven, and this is what I just got the text. And it's not a formal quote, but he says he thinks he's going to be under $105,000. The other company is $106,642. So the other company would take 3 months to deliver. We wouldn't get it till like August. He says we can get it by July 1st,
Okay.
which is a big difference for us.
Well,
I just don't have a formal
Your,
quote yet.
your timing worked out beautifully. We're gonna have a meeting on either Wednesday or Thursday. So get the formal quote and then give us a recommendation
Okay.
at that meeting, so.
what was the number in the budget for
Yeah.
this truck?
124 or something, 124 or 600 or something like that.
For the single vehicle you were proposing,
Right.
124.
So we can get that.
So you're
from-
gonna be in the, just a
We'll go
skinch
close.
under,
The same.
except plus or minus the cost
The
of the
extra
truck,
Right.
the pickup.
Which with the pickup, I think we're okay. We'll be able to use what we got. So we're talking about 22,000, 21,858, plus 105, so 127 will be few thousand over, but I'll work with Mary Jane, and we'll find a place to get
Your
the rest of
capital,
it.
your
Yeah.
capital budget.
So I don't know if you wanna wait till Wednesday, Matt, to do both of these, if you want, or if you wanna go ahead.
Yeah,
with
I think that would be
Both days
better.
are gonna make a big difference.
So the trash truck that we're looking at doesn't have the separate bin for recycling, is what it
No,
comes down
it
to.
looks something like this. This is a sample of it.
No, it looks like an old school trash truck. As
Yeah.
opposed to, I've seen the things with the grabbers on the side and, in the city.
Right, and this one doesn't show with the grabber, and that's what, we want the grabber. I mean, even with that, we probably could do it because it's a tipper, it's a low, so you could tip it up. We don't want the guys lifting barrels anymore.
Nope, we don't either.
Yeah,
So the original plan was the one truck that would do both things.
correct.
So now if we're using two separate vehicles, does that change the manpower, the scheduling,
Not really. It
anything
did
like that?
a little bit, it does a little bit. The problem is the original quote we had, then we went and looked at it in February. It was a side loading recycle, and it didn't have a tipper. You
It was
couldn't
the-
get a tipper to go on it.
Yeah.
That was the original quote for the $124,000, and the guys were gonna have to lift the barrels up about 4 or 5 feet, and I said, no, we can't do that. And then I looked at a split body where you have, on the backside, there's, trash on one side, recycling. That was more like $170,000. And that was way out of our range, so I thought this was a less expensive option. Will it take a little bit more manpower? Yeah, but I don't think a lot more, because I think with recycling, we probably aren't gonna have to do it twice a week like the trash we will. I think we can do that once a week.
Isn't every stop that's got a trash barrel also have the recycle bin?
Yes,
So we're gonna have 2 trucks going to every stop.
correct, but once a week
Maybe
with
not.
recycle. Right. Yeah.
And it doesn't
Boy, I wish there
necessarily
was a
mean
way
you
we
gotta-
could do it, I mean, it just,
Yeah.
you could just see it multiplying, it just, we're already, now we double the trucks, now we double the people.
Well,
We'll
I'm
say
not
we
sure-
don't have a truck, but next year we are gonna need a truck, we have to go to each stop twice.
Yeah.
That's a real,
Yeah.
classic, here we go.
The creep, scope creep. And again, I'm not necessarily sure you need to run 2 crews. One crew
Well, you
just
gotta
does
go
it
back to
twice.
the same stops, I mean, that's,
Yeah.
you can't have much more inefficiency.
Well, I think we did, we're gonna be able to do it with one guy, and we used to do, in the past, we always had to have 2 guys when we did trash before. But now with the lifter, we'll have one guy do it, just go up to the thing.
But it's not one guy, because the
drag it
second
out.
guy's gotta go back and get the recycle.
Well, that's true, it is, but again, budget-wise, I think this is I think it's the most cost-effective way. Labor-wise, it might be a little more, but again, we won't go twice a week for the recycling, we won't need to, I don't think. And there are the advantages of this being small, we can get into tighter spaces with it.
The trash truck or the little truck?
The little one.
Is that trash truck that's pictured here, the full-size trash trucks that we used to see, or I know they've got a lot smaller ones now. This is
It's not
small.
like a big Schweitzer, not huge, it's,
Okay.
it's an 8-yarder, some of them go up to, we actually, Tony and Ralph Casey and I went to Milford to look what, we saw this, and they love this, they use it in their Parks Department down there.
The little one.
And they have the big trash truck too, but theirs was like 11 cubic yards, it was huge. And they use it in their parks and the beaches.
Is
They're
there
a
any
little
reason
smaller.
why the little one, you know how some of our argument for going this direction was the cleanups, the after, the weekends, where you're only hitting a few barrels. Is there any reason why this couldn't be used for some of that stuff rather than taking out the big one after a big weekend? I mean, say we were just hitting a few barrels from some sports events or soccer fest or
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
where you're just cleaning up a half a dozen barrels on the green. Is there any reason why you couldn't use this?
We could, the only thing, with recycling, we have to be careful there's not too much debris from the garbage in there. I went to throw a pizza box away once, they wouldn't let me because it had that much cheese in it, like a little piece of cheese. And you can't use that, it'll contaminate it. And so, unless there's a way we can wash these out after, if we put garbage in.
No.
Yeah,
Don't
and
even
so,
go to wash
no, I
it.
know, that's what I'm saying, I think we wanna keep recycling separate.
Does it make any sense, it sounds like you had one quote for the combo truck, does it make sense in the next day and a half to research that a little bit more?
Sure.
Get more quotes to see if you can get from 170 down to something?
Yeah, I could, yeah, sure, I think it's gonna be quite a bit more, but we can look into that.
Okay. All right. Well, you've got a couple of days to do
Yeah.
some.
Okay.
Yeah, I got some discomfort with the creep.
All right. Is there a motion to table until we meet later this week?
Next Wednesday, Matt?
Wednesday or Thursday.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to table.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Rick.
So I'll get the cost on the split body one.
And the other, and alternate on the.
I mean, every
double.
town must be having the same problem.
They are.
With the recycling, you mean?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
the question, I think Madison does it manually, right?
Yeah.
That's it.
Well, we don't, I do remember that conversation, and we did have workers' comp issues, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
That'd be best to avoid at this point in time, but I just, it's classic, I just worry about it.
I agree. And it's-
All right, I'll get that information.
You got it.
All right,
Thanks,
thank
Rick. Okay. Item 7, facilities engineer, Steve Nydor. 7.1, consider take possible action to waive the bidding and approve the contract for installation of ADA compliant railings for the back walkway at Youth and Family Services. Let me throw a little context and background. A couple of months ago, we had someone took a fall, or someone who has some physical limitations, who took a fall coming out of Youth and Family Services. There's a long walkway back into the parking lot. We determined that we should probably make that sidewalk ADA compliant to avoid any potential litigation, and also to provide safety for folks coming in and out of there. So Steve has been charged. This was not contemplated in any of our budgets. So Steve has come up with the following.
We've taken care of several issues. We've added lighting out there. We've removed bushes, which may have blocked the lighting. But the rest of the project is for pouring new concrete walks and adding metal railings. So I'm having a hard time getting prices. There's not too many railing guys around here. Concrete prices, I've called several people, unresponsive. I do have prices, in talking with Lynn, who's in charge of youth and family. She would like it done right after May 10th. So I'm asking to waive the three-rule
Three bid.
bid
Three quote,
process,
three
so
quote.
I can get a move on it and get this started right after the 10th, so it's all done before kids get out of school and all our summer programs start.
We don't have an on-call sidewalk person for doing that?
We do. He's one of the ones we've been playing phone tag with. The one that did had the contract
Right around.
prior to, so I've worked with him before. He was very responsive. He came right out and took a look at it.
That's what we have here?
Yes.
Okay. It doesn't seem like an unreasonable.
No, you also got.
You're doing the entire
have to
ramp from the
remember-
building down to the,
Yes, and they need to
driveway?
dig it down further, because the old concrete slab was 4 inches.
Okay.
The new one's gotta be 12 inches, so you gotta dig all back down, replace stone, build it back up, build in haunches and control joints and stuff, so it's not a regular sidewalk.
And there's some concern relative to the grading,
Yeah,
because
It's all gotta
ADA, because of
conform
the
to
pitch,
ADA,
right?
correct.
The
Boy.
second ad is, because we have an existing contract for sidewalk work in the town, I think it is important to track that guy down.
I've called him twice.
Maybe get Janice involved in or
No.
something.
I can, but it's not a typical sidewalk. You know, the ones he priced out for the town are
Yep.
typically the 4-inch slabs. This is wider and it's deeper.
Okay. I
And
just
there's a lot
want
more
to double check
prep
the
work.
contract terms, just to make sure we
Yes,
don't
she's the one who
run
actually
foul of
gave
that.
me the names of people to call.
Okay.
Right. And what methodology we use to try to track him down, email or calls?
I've called him.
All right.
it's just, the point is, we don't want them saying we went around them. So people,
Correct.
it's
No,
like, it's
Called him
worth.
twice and he's returned my calls twice, so he knows I've called him.
Okay.
And it's the ADA issue of the cars.
Correct.
The concrete piece of it doesn't surprise me, that price. It's the 27,000 for the railing. that
Well,
was very
if you look,
surprised
it
at.
should be 20,300, I believe, because we ended up shorting the railings, but it's all
That's-
galvanized.
I
There's
am
all
looking,
rails,
I'm
so
not-
if you're in
Yeah,
a
we still have
wheelchair, your
27.
wheel doesn't fall off the side. I'm doing galvanized, because by the time we run our snow throwers up there during the winter, we'd scrape off any paint that's on there.
Yeah, you said if we
So-
look, we'll see a different price. We're looking at 27,000.
7, yeah.
Okay.
Is there something
They're-
different that we should
Yeah,
have?
I had to modify it,
Okay.
so it's down to actually 20,300.
Aluminum would be more expensive than galvanized?
Yes, and I don't think it would last as long. With aluminum, you'd have to have the posts closer together. You know, with the steel.
Yeah, you just galvanize it's gonna rust. I mean, you know it's going to. You're gonna have to cover the
Well,
sidewalk and
it's hot
salt.
dip galvanized, so it should last, 20 years at least.
Bless you. All right, again, we find ourselves with information that isn't complete, and owing to, and no offense, Steve, the guy's not gotten back to you. I would be comfortable with you sending an email to him, the individual, and asking whether they intend to bid on it. If they intend to bid on it, they have to have a price to you by close of business tomorrow, so that we could weigh in on it at our meeting on Wednesday or Thursday, and then we can just get the new numbers on this. So hopefully we can move forward as of Wednesday.
Okay.
So new numbers on the railing, accurate numbers on the railing, and then confirmation that our current contractor for sidewalks is not gonna bid on it.
Okay.
And then I'd be comfortable going with the other bidder at this point.
I think if you look on that 27,000, if you look up, I think there was a deduct. But it doesn't matter, I'll have the whole.
Yeah.
We cut it back.
Okay.
No, it does not.
No, it
The one that
No.
came through to us on the, and that, sometimes it's just a matter of a little bit, a few minutes, right? Between
Yeah.
what gets sent out and what we end up with.
Yeah, I fully intend to move forward with this.
Yeah, we're meeting
Wednesday
again
or
anyway,
Thursday-
so there's an
Wednesday or
opportunity
Thursday.
here.
So,
Okay.
all right.
Very good.
Is there a motion to table item 7.1 until we meet again this week?
So moved.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks.
Item 8, Health Director Dennis Johnson, consider and take possible action on the approval of amendment number 4 to the Wright Pierce contract for design of water main project in the amount of $210,045 and authorize the first selectman to execute the amendment. All
Good morning.
yours. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'll give you a brief background on this. Amendment 4 is a previously submitted amendment proposal to cover the additional engineering services for the water main project. The costs relate to 4 engineering services, 3 of which have already been performed, such as contract rebidding, value engineering, U.S. Army Corps permit modifications, and future contract administration and field observation. It is important to understand that all these costs have already been incorporated into the current contract and construction budget approved at the December town meeting and does not represent an additional project cost beyond those which were previously approved.
Wonderful.
Approval of this amendment at this point is just procedural and necessary to complete the engineering services agreement with the consultant.
Wonderful. Thank you for that clarification, Dennis. So this is presupposed, it's baked into to the financial model upon which we've submitted, not upon which we have submitted to the state for our various approvals for the grant awards as well as the loan. So this is an anticipated cost, so I appreciate that. Might also add that a little later this morning in this very room, we will be having the pre-construction meeting with our contractor, True Blue, the Connecticut Water Company, our engineering firm, Wright Pierce, as well as representatives from Department of Public Health, or
Right, State Health.
the State Health Department. So we're
We're moving.
this becomes the official kicking off of the project.
Right.
A little later today, much
What kind of
anticipated.
timing are we talking?
2 years.
2 years, could be less, could be more, depends upon weather.
And it looks like things like ledge, and there's some issues in here that they're,
Yeah, it's always anticipated. We dug many borings out there every 500 feet to measure the ledge, but, it could be less or more between those borings. It's kind of unknown at this point, but.
All right. Is there a motion to approve amendment number 4 in the amount of $210,045 and authorize the first selectman to execute the amendment?
So moved.
And a second. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries.
Great.
Dennis, thank you, and I'll see you in a little while.
Okay.
See you back here in a little while. Item 9, Director of Human Resources, Mitch Goldblatt, who will be talking to us about RFQ, RFP, number 4-1819, Health Insurance Agent Broker Services.
That's it. Thank you. We went out to bid, getting proposals for our new health insurance broker. We received 12 proposals,
Wow.
which was pretty amazing.
Yeah.
We went through the proposals with a group of us and narrowed it down to 5 firms. We had a subcommittee meet with the 5 firms. We narrowed that down a little bit more to 4. And then brought the 4 firms in for a second meeting this time, including the first selectman, the superintendent, and the chairman of the Board of Education as well. And the consensus was to move forward with a 1-year contract with Lindbergh and Ripple out of West Hartford. And that 1 year would be a $40,000 cost.
Good. Just as having participated in that meeting, there are a couple of asks that we are putting on Lindbergh, and that is development of some employee wellness programs, right? And there was one other, the utilization of data to spot trends and
Yeah.
and analyses, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
There was some minor concerns, I think, going through this, and that's what the recommendation is for a 1-year contract to start this off. And our current broker is Milliman, who did not bid, so we're definitely making a change here.
Yeah.
However, the principal of Lindbergh and Ripple has worked with us and has worked previously for Milliman and has worked with steadily with the Board of Education, so there's a familiarity there. But certainly, there's some expectations we have because we saw some pretty competitive information from the other firms, and we want to make sure we're getting the best for our employees and for our coverage for our broker services.
Rich, can you just
Yeah.
explain to everybody what this company will do for the town?
The company does a number of things, Lou. It basically serves as our in between to broker the medical benefits for our employees. And even though we are still, and we've been a long time with Anthem, and there's no intent at the moment to change that, they go out, test the market, they know what's going on in the market. Instead of us just accepting a price from Anthem, they will push back, they watch our trends, they will watch and give recommendations for us on stop loss, which is, we follow that very closely. You follow that very closely, we do too, Mary Jane and I. And but they'll give a recommendation of where our point should be for that, and things like that. And then they also are involved whenever there is a contract issue, when we've changed over to, for instance, we went from the PPO plan to the high deductible health plan. At this time, our broker gets involved in helping train our employees, going through information sessions, kind of, insulating from the medical provider being Anthem, being our in-between, and basically explaining to our employees, what it's all about. And they've also get involved, as Matt said, in some wellness things. They are involved with our wellness fair, as well as our benefits fair, because they kind of fall into both. And very involved, and they become our point of contact when there's an issue. If I get, or Sharon, my counterpart over at the Board of Ed, gets a call from an employee about a problem with a bill, something not being covered, these are the people we call to act on our behalf. And we've had some great responsiveness in the past, and we're expecting to have that going forward.
So all those additional, ongoing calls and clarifications, that's all included within this? They don't
Oh, yeah.
bill hourly as well?
No, they do not, no.
So they're available when we need them to address problems?
Yes, they are, and they also, and I almost neglected to say, they also sit in with us on contract
Rate
negotiations.
negotiations.
And that's
Yeah.
huge. I mean,
Yeah.
after doing this for 8 years on Board of
Yeah.
Ed, they run a lot of it's not just sitting
Yes.
in, right? They run a lot of different analyses.
Sure, anytime
and
there's a
they-
proposal either made by management or the union, and how it may affect
Yeah.
us, they will, get back to us as far as what the impact will be. I'm looking into some other potential software for that, but that's another story. But they also, will be there in the negotiations, because sometimes there's questions that come up from the union about different plans, whether we should be moving from Anthem, whether we should look at the state partnership plan, whether we should look at Aetna or somewhere else. And sometimes the unions will come and say, I heard that this town or this group has a plan that they prefer, and we'll look into that. And that's who will do the looking for us.
Yeah.
Great.
Could you explain the two that are just way out of the ballpark? Are they just bidding something else, or?
As a matter of fact, the highest bidder was definitely in contention.
No, I'm talking about the two really low ones.
The two.
Sager and Lindbergh and Ripple.
Okay.
You know, it's a very competitive business, and you know, it may come down to, you know, part of our discussion was what kind of resources we have, what kind of bench there
I
is.
know, but how do you go from 40,000 to 1,400?
Where's the 1,400?
Gallagher.
Yeah, it was 51,000. Am I missing?
That looks like a dollar sign, Charlie, it's a 5. I did exactly the same thing.
Yeah.
Had to zero in a little bit.
But Charlie, your point,
They range from the lowest, coincidentally enough, this one-year contract does end up being with the lowest bidder, if you will. But the bids did range in the first year from 40,000 to a high of 68,500. So that was the range we were looking in. And for point of clarification or just interest, our current contract with Milliman is at 50,000. So there's a savings here, but
That makes so much more
but we
sense. I
also-
thought they were bidding higher.
Oh, no, we knew it would be, you know, plus or minus the 50,000 range, you know, in
All right.
that.
and yeah, the fact that somebody's as high as 68, which is significantly outside the norm, they have a lot of tools that they have, proprietary tools that they've developed that allow them to do data, claims data analyses and trend analysis, that kind of stuff. They also have a tool that's laptop based that, you know, in the middle of a negotiation, if you say, we want to do this, the union says, what's the impact of this? They have a way to do it in an automated fashion. So part of the award with Lindbergh is for them to develop some of those tools over the, all right, and give them the opportunity to do so prior to going back out to bid
Back out
next
for a
year.
year too, I see.
And other than the numbers, I mean, these are, each firm has a track record, or they, you know, they're not.
Yeah, well, we had the 12 bids that came in. There were a couple that we basically knocked off right away simply because of the fact they did not have familiarity with the Connecticut market, public sector market. When we got down to the final four, if you will, all four of them did have significant experience and were with towns, you know, of relative size of ours as well. We check references, you know, with other towns, and we felt.
How
that
about experience with the health savings plans?
They all have that.
Yeah.
They all have that.
Pretty standard now.
Yeah, and they all also have looked into the Connecticut partnership plan as well. Well, you know, those are things that, you know, if and when the time comes, that's what we expect them to do for us. You know, if those questions come up about, you know, Charles, you've been in negotiations with me, we've heard proposed plans as potential changes to our current Anthem plan. That's what and all four of these, the finalists were certainly familiar with those plans. And that was good for us to know, because we did quiz them on that, and we also wanted to make sure that somebody that we did go with is familiar with the plans that are available in the public sector in Connecticut.
Right. And one of the questions that I asked the four was, knowing that we've already moved to the HSA plans, what's the next generation of negotiations related to the plan? And what are the trends in the industry related to HSA? And Lindbergh and one other had good answers. The other two were sort of wishy-washy on it. So.
Good question.
So the request today is to allow the first selectman to enter into a contract that'll be finalized through Lindbergh and through Pam's office to make sure we have a bona fide contract for Matt to sign. But want you to approve the ability for Matt to enter into a contract for 1 year with Lindbergh and Ripple.
When's the year, is it our
July
fiscal
1.
year?
July 1, yeah, this is gonna go pretty quickly.
I'll move that.
With an option to renew?
There'll be an option to renew, yeah.
Yeah.
at those.
Good.
Yeah,
these
At these
site plans.
preset, yeah.
Okay,
I'll move it.
Second.
second, okay.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, very, very well presented, thanks.
Thank you.
Item 10, just briefly, this is an update more than anything else, so it probably could have been under old business. I have secured a commitment from an individual who is willing to chair that task force.
Who's
Sam Garrity, who has unfortunately the last couple of years been working in New Jersey and has had to curtail his civic activity, but he has been very active in a variety of forums and organizations throughout town. So the process from here will be go back to those who had shown interest and determine if they're still interested. And my hope is to, at the second May meeting, to have a slate of folks to nominate for it.
Great.
Now, recalling that we had secured funding for this project through the Board of Finance in the amount of $350,000 for either consultants, facilitators, and demonstration projects. Again, it's time to get this moving, and largely it's fallen on my shoulders, but I have not been able to get a chairperson that I felt was appropriate. So.
Very good.
All right, item 11, consider and take possible action to set a public hearing date of Tuesday, May 28th, 2019 at 7:30 PM at the community center to receive public comment on an ordinance to amend the code of the town of Guilford, chapter 236, solid waste and recycling, to include restrictions of store use, single-use plastic bags. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay.
That is the day at the Memorial Day. Is that gonna be tight for folks? That just is, the calendar is the calendar?
Calendars, yeah.
It's the only time I can get the room in, yeah.
Okay,
Community center.
just in terms of the community folks.
Right. Well, we don't want
That's
to
a
push
good
it too
point.
much further out because we wind up with people going on vacation when school starts.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
So this ordinance is the one that you guys have seen. Pam and Pete Barrett have put their stamp of approval on it, or their imprimatur on it, and we're ready to move forward. So the public hearing will be an opportunity for the public to weigh in, present their opinions, ask questions, etc. But we have it at this point. Is there anything further on this? Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. We'll sign this at the conclusion of the meeting. Okay. Item 12, discuss and take possible action on a proclamation. You have before you a proclamation that we would appreciate all your signature on. And it is a proclamation honoring Mike Dorney, who has been a longtime town attorney, town council, through various administrations, and he's even he was engaged with this current administration on several items. I also might add that he was a mentor to our in-house counsel, Pam Millman, and we are intending to present this proclamation to him Thursday, is it? At a retirement get together
nice.
that Pam and I will be attending. So is.
I'll move this.
And second,
Second.
call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carried. Thank you very much. Yep, it's appropriate, very appropriate. Item 13, appointments and resignations. 13.1, act on reappointment of Keith Bishop to the Land Acquisition Commission for a new term to begin June 19th, 2019, and expire June 18th, 2023. Is there a motion?
I'd like to make that
I
motion, yes.
thought you would. And a second?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 13.2, act on recommendation to reappoint Jack Evans to the Land Acquisition Commission for a new term to begin June 29th, 2019, and expire June 18th, 2023. Is there a motion?
Sure, I'll make
Make
a
it, and
motion.
a second. Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 13.3, act on a recommendation to appoint Sean Cosgrove to the Land Acquisition Commission as the Planning and Zoning Commission representative for a term to expire February 28th, 2022. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Yeah, I'm just,
I'll make it, and then a second.
I'll second, I'm just
Okay,
trying
Charlie's
to
gonna-
understand what's happening a little bit here. It looks like they're just
The
trying to,
planning, land acquisition has members from other boards and commissions as participants.
yeah.
So there are, I think, 3 or 4 commissions that
Oh,
are,
that's why there's all these
Right.
different,
Yeah.
okay, I got it.
okay?
Okay.
So it's been moved and seconded, call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 13.4, act on recommendation to appoint Jason Marchi to Inland Wetlands Commission for a term to expire February 28th, 2023. Is there a motion? I'll make it.
Second.
Second, call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 13.5, act on the appointment of town engineer Janice Plazak as the town's municipal recycling coordinator in accordance with chapter 236-7 of the town code. I'll make that motion.
Second.
Second, call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Section, item 14, request for use of town property. 14.1, act on a request from the Shoreline Chamber of Commerce to use the green and place a sign on the green advertising its taste of the shoreline, taking place September 7th, 2019. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. 14.2, act on a request from the Guilford Keeping Society to place a sign on the green advertising its Memorial Day picnic taking place May 27th, 2019. Is there a motion?
Yes, so moved.
And a second.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, abstaining, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. Item 15, correspondence. I had none of particular note. Item 16, committee reports. Lou?
I actually met with Sandy last week.
Okay.
To finish off, what we're gonna finally present. And I'm sorry I didn't get it sent around to everybody. I need to send it to everybody.
Okay.
I'll get this thing in gear. And, but we should be on track. It was actually in the paper last week, which is
Okay.
nice, so.
Yes.
People should be looking out for this.
Right. Yeah, so if you can forward to us the document, maybe we'll take a whack at a decision at the second May meeting.
That'd be great.
Right. And in those terms, we might want to invite Erin and, was it Janice?
Janice, I think so.
Erin and Janice to attend that meeting to answer questions about,
Absolutely.
as they were staff to this.
No question.
Okay, good.
For the public, you might want to state what you're talking about.
Oh, sorry, this is amendments to the building official fees and applications.
The building codes, that's right. Thanks, Jim.
And the fire.
Inside
commission as
baseball
well.
there, right?
Yeah, I knew, we knew what you were talking about.
Yep, exactly.
Thanks.
And Sandy's not here on the affordable housing initiative. I'll take a minute to explain that. At this point, we have gone back out to the two, the top 2 firms that submitted proposals, and this is an RFP for price considerations for their work. Once we receive those, the committee will be meeting again and be presenting to us a final candidate at I believe, our June meeting, so. Old business, anyone have any old business? New business, I had one item that I've been thinking about for some time, and I'll put Lou on the spot here in a minute, but
Excellent.
what I'd like us to consider during new business are points of personal privilege regarding good news or people or events in the community that we think might be highlighted. If you had an encounter with someone in the community, to sort of share that kind of thing. So often we don't talk about the good things that happen. So, Lou, you want to talk a little bit about where we were yesterday afternoon?
So we had an opportunity to attend an Eagle Scout ceremony up at the St. John's Episcopal Church for Norman Ross.
Benedict.
Very accomplished young man.
Benedict, last name is Benedict, right?
Benedict. Very accomplished, and he did his Eagle project was to fix the fencing up at Lake Quantapug and I think adjacent to the pavilion that is up there, which is another Eagle Scout project from many years ago. So it was really well done. Those kids are always great, and they're well supported by their peers. So it was really a nice event.
It was. All right, so, I think this is an opportunity for us to talk about some of the good things that you've encountered or you've been made aware of, and anyone's entitled to do it, so, I encourage everyone to do so. Anything else under new business? No? Public forum.
What's
Anyone-
item 20?
Item 20 is,
that coming
executive session.
Oh, okay.
So we'll do public forum. Anyone wishing to address the board in public forum? Hearing none, let's move on to item 20, which is discuss and take possible action on appeal from residents in accordance with section 247-31, right of appeal, Article 7, Elderly Tax Relief Program. An executive session will be required. So is there a motion to go into executive session?
So moved.
Second.
Second. And we'll invite in Jen and John, and that's it. Mike will probably, we may or may not, you're gonna need to come back, because we'll have to close the meeting. Is there, there's a motion that's going to go into executive session. Call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none. Motion carries. All right, is there a motion to come out of executive session?
Make the motion.
Second.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusal, hearing none, motion carries. We are taking no action on item as a result of executive session, item number 20. Therefore, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We're tabling 20, essentially. Is that
Right,
more accurate?
we are tabling it.
Okay.
Yeah, is there a motion to table?
Yeah, I think it's probably cleaner.
Yeah. Is there a motion to table? And a second?
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstained, recusals, hearing none, motion carries. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Some.
Second.
Call the question, all in favor?
Aye.
That was unanimous. Thank you.
Always